Hello everyone. In this video, we'll look at a password attack. It's a conversation in cybersecurity which seems to never end. And in this video, we'll simulate a password attack by trying to break into a PfSense Firewall with Kali Linux. The aim of this video is to strengthen our password security by understanding how it might happen and some of the common passwords that you should avoid in the real world. So I'd like to state that this video is not to encourage you to hack other people's passwords, but it's aimed at helping you strengthen your password security. So let's get started by trying to understand what a password attack might entail. So a password attack might be carried out online or offline, and in an online attack, a hacker might try to actively break into your system, such as your PC's login interface or a login interface hosted on a website. And typically, a password attack might involve a technique known as brute force. And in a brute force attack, a hacker might try a combination of different characters, including letters, numbers, and symbols, until they're able to accurately guess your password. However, with most of the modern login interfaces, after 5 to 10 failed attempts, your account might be logged out. Therefore, attackers might turn to a different technique known as a dictionary attack. So in a dictionary attack, a hacker might decide to use a word list containing some of the most commonly used passwords and their variations. And in Kali Linux, you'd find a pre-built word list containing some of the most common passwords which were identified from previous data breaches. However, you might also decide to create your own word list. So let's take a look at some of the tools in Kali Linux you might use to create your word list. So in order to access the word list file, you can open a terminal and specify the directory path, which is user/share/wordlist, or you can go to applications and then look out for password attacks and then go to password profiling and word list and then choose word list. And it will open the directory path for you. And you can increase the size of the screen, Control, Shift, and plus, and you see that it's user/share/wordlist. And there are two files of interest here. That's the rocku.txt and the fasttrack.txt. And if you open this in Kali Linux for the first time, you might see that rocku.txt might be zipped as a GZ, and you can unzip that. It will ask you, you'd see a prompt asking you to unzip it. So you can do that if you open it for the first time. So in order to see the output of these two files, you use the cat command, so cat and then rocku.txt or fasttrack.txt. So with Rocku, it contains over 14 million lines of password from a previous data breach, which was in 2009 when the Rocku social media app was hacked and over 14 million passwords were made available online by the hackers. And this file might give you an idea of passwords that you should avoid in the real world, knowing that hackers have an idea that you might be using one of these kind of passwords. Fasttrack.txt is a smaller file containing just 222 of the most common passwords users might use. With rocku.txt, if you would want to output it onto the screen, it will take a long time. So let's take a look at what you find in fasttrack.txt by using the cat command and typing fasttrack.txt and clicking on enter. So it has 222 lines of password, and these are some of the most common. We have spring 2017, variations of summer, autumn. People use a lot of seasons, and we have password with the @ and 55 replacing the normal letters, and we have SQL. These are very interesting passwords that you should avoid. We have the common password with an exclamation, complex. There are very, very interesting passwords in here that you should avoid. We might also want to take a quick look at some of the passwords that we have in the rocku.txt file. So let's type rocku.txt. You should bring cat before that, and then rocku.txt. Let's load a few. You can use Ctrl+C to stop it at any point if it's taking too long to load all the passwords. Okay, so let's take a quick look at some of the passwords we have here. We have Lagos, we have variations of it, we have Lagrima. There are all kinds of interesting passwords that you probably should avoid in the real world. Let's scroll up and see if we'll see other interesting ones. We have some being months, we have months, and it's advisable not to use alphabets like these. We have weather 111, and we have West Side, West Life, all kinds of very interesting passwords you should avoid in the real world. So I would personally advise you not to use common words as your passwords in the real world, because a lot of these might be compromised in this rockyou.txt file. So the next tool we like to look at is Crunch. So unlike the rockyou.txt or fasttrack.txt, Crunch is used to make your own word list, and you can access it right from the terminal, or you can go to applications, go to password and attacks, and then you'd see Crunch. So since we're already in the terminal, we just type Crunch and it should launch the application. So you click on enter and it says Crunch 3.6. Crunch can create a word list based on criteria you specify. So for more information, let's type man for the manual and then type Crunch and click on enter. So this is some more information about Crunch, the syntax. So the most basic syntax is you use the minimum length. So you type Crunch, you type the minimum length in digits that the Crunch should use, and the maximum length of the word list, a particular word on a line. So you can type from anything from 1 to as high as you want it to be. But remember that the higher the maximum length is, the bigger the size of the file will be, and the more words it will generate. So you should keep that in mind. And you specify the character set string. So it can be letters, it can be numbers, it can be symbols, and there are additional options. So we have several options, but the basic things you need to do are these three: the maximum length of string, the minimum, the maximum, and the character set. But you can add other options. We'll try a few of them. So we'll add O, which is the output. So we would want to create a word list file, just like we had in the rockyou.txt or the fast track. So we'll do that. But there are other ones you can explore if you'd want to go more into Crunch. But personally, I feel because Crunch is not like rockyou.txt, which is an actual word list of real world compromised passwords, Crunch probably might be used if you want to generate a set of word lists for a pin. So let's close the manual page and try to create a very simple word list with Crunch. So you click on Q, you close it, and let's type Crunch. And then, so the minimum length, let's say 4, because most pins will be 4 digits. And the maximum, let's keep it at 4 as well. And let's type the character set. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, probably. And we'll use the O option. So -O, and then we'll specify the text file that it should, the name of the file it should create into 2. So let's say digit word lists, and let's say .txt, and click on enter. And it's saying it's going to generate 5,000 bytes with 1,000 lines. Okay, so it failed, permission denied. Okay, probably because we are currently in the user share word list directory. Let's change it to our home directory. So let's just type cd, click on enter, and let's use the arrow up to try the command we tried earlier. So let's click on enter again, and let's see if it will generate it. Okay, so it's 100% completed, and they should be on the desktop. It's on the home directory. So you can use ls to check what you have on your home directory. Yes, and we have we created it using digit. Yes, digit word lists.txt. So we have it here. We can type cat and then use a cat command and then type digit word list.txt to output the results to the screen. And so in here it combined the numbers to create 1,000 lines of pins that you can use. And this probably will be used if your account within the account you want to attack wouldn't be locked out after trying 5 to 10 times. But in most modern login interfaces, it probably will be locked out after 5 tries. Hence, an attacker might use real-world passwords and pins from the rockyou.txt or the fasttrack.txt. So the next tool we would like to look at is Hydra, and Hydra can be accessed either from the applications or directly from the terminal. So in the terminal, you type Hydra and click on enter, and it will open the syntax and it will launch Hydra. So in here, we have several syntax you might use, but the most common ones include using L for the login and the login name actually, or you can load a file that uses a capital L. So you should pay attention to that in Hydra. We have a small lowercase L if you want to specify the login name, and most likely you know the login name of the interface you want to hack. It might be user, a default login name, it can be admin, but you probably will know. But if you don't, you can you can load a login file with different lines of usernames. And the same applies for the password. You most likely will not know the password, so you probably use a capital P to denote a file. And in this case, we'll be using the rockyou.txt. But if you already know the password, you probably will just use a small p and specify the password. But you probably will know one of either the username or the password. There are other options that you have, but these are the main ones we'll be using. And you can also use man and Hydra to see the full options. This includes just a few of the ones that you might use, but you can enter man and enter Hydra to see the full set of options you might have. So in here, we have all the options you probably will see in Hydra. And if you go down, we'll be using a few of these. So you can connect via secure socket layer SSL. That's a capital S. We have a smaller S option. That's to specify the particular port. That is if it's not using the default port. In this case, we'll be trying to hack into a PfSense Firewall using secure shell. And we have configured our firewall in such a way that it's using the default port, which is port 22. So these are some of the options we'll be using. And if you go down, you would see another option. Let's go down. So there's I to ignore. There's a message which comes after every 10 seconds. If you want to ignore that, you can use the I option. There's verbose mode to see all the options of login combinations that are used until you get the actual password. So you'd see what Hydra combines the various password combinations that are made until it successfully hacks the password. So you can use verbose mode to see what is going on behind the scenes. And another option we probably will use is the F option to exit after the first round of login and password pair is found. If you don't use the F option, it will continue to search for different combinations until it successfully finds several combinations of login, usernames, and password pairs. Okay, so as we said, we'll be hacking into the PfSense Firewall interface, but we wouldn't be using the web configurator interface. This is what you access online using the IP address on the web. So 192.168.1.1, it would give you this interface. We can also hack this, but we'll have to know a few more options that we'll try to use secure shell to log in. So in PfSense, you'd have to ensure that you have secure shell enabled. So to check if you have secure shell enabled, you go to system, you go to advanced, and you scroll down and you would see secure shell and you should enable it. And in this case, we'll set it to password or public key. We'll try to hack just the password. Public key might take more time, but just for demonstration, we'll try to hack a default password. We have intentionally configured this firewall to make it easy to hack. The other thing you would want to configure to make it easier to hack if you want to follow along is to go to firewall, go to rules, and ensure that on the LAN network, it allows all incoming and outgoing traffic. So you'd have to set a new rule if you don't have this. So in this case, all source traffic and ports and destinations are all asterisks, meaning that it accepts all traffic. So you can add one rule if you don't already have that. So you go here, the action will be to pass, and the source will be any, destination will be any, and you save the rule. But in our case, we already have it set. So with these two, let's try to use Hydra to hack the PfSense Firewall. So back into the terminal, you'd see that Hydra supports several services that you can hack. It has Asterisk, Cisco Enable, Cobalt, Strike. There are a few which are not very familiar, but there's HTTPS, head, get, post. These are all used to hack interfaces hosted on the web. And we have a few others, HTTP proxy, and we have LDAP. LDAP is a lightweight directory access protocol. And we have a few other Oracle. We have RDP, remote desktop protocol, and a few other server message block for file share, printer share. And we have SSH and SSH key. These are all different services that you can hack. There's Telnet for remote logging, and we have VNC, which is another type of remote logging. But in this particular case, let's try to hack secure shell on the PfSense firewall. So this is how we'll go about it. The first thing you'd want to do, we're going to be using the word list. So let's change our directory path to where the word list is found. So we'll do a CD, we'll do user /share/word list so that we can reference that file. So I think I should have added S to it. So you can just arrow up and add S. Yes, so we have changed our directory path to user share word list. You can list and you see the rockq.txt and fasttrack.txt. In this case, we'll use a rockq.txt. You can decide to use a fasttrack.txt. So in Hydra, what we'll do first is to type Hydra, and we use the small L. So we know the username we want to use, which is admin. That's the default username. If you'd want to use a list of usernames, you use a capital L. The next thing we'll do is to specify a big P, and the big P is because we're going to use a word list file for the password, and we'll use rockq.txt, and from here we'll type SSH. That's the protocol we want to hack. We'll bring a colon, we'll bring 2 double slashes, and we'll enter the IP address of that login interface or that firewall, which is the default one, which is 192.168.1.1. And from here, we use a few other options. So we use the V for verbose mode. We want to ignore errors, so we use I and F once it finds the first successful combination of username and password. And at this point, you can click on enter. So at this point, we have found a match. And if you look down, you'd see in green that there's a match. So SSH, it attempted several. It attempted 22, and it found a match. So the match is 192.168.1.1. The login is admin. The password is password. These are default configurations, but it would have gone through a whole list of passwords, 14 million. If the password was very, very complicated or complex, it would try to find. But you can create your own word list, and that is what hackers might do. They might limit their word list to 5 lines or 10 lines to avoid lockout. But this is a simple demonstration. So what we want to do now is to confirm if this password is correct. So what we'll do is we'll try to log in to Secure Shell using this username and password. So let's change the directory path. Let's type SSH. Let's type admin, and let's type at 192.168.1.1. Let's click on enter. So at this point, it will ask you for your password. So let's enter the password that we're given and click on enter. And we've been able to successfully log in. So it says, welcome to PfSense. Yes, so we've been able to log in. This is a very simple demonstration of a password attack, how you probably log in to a firewall. We're using Hydra, and this is used for an active online password attack. For an offline attack, you probably use a tool called Hashcat. You'd need to find a hash of a password. They're found in particular folders. We'll look at that in a separate video. But if you'd want to set up a simple lab and try out this, you can look at my previous videos on how to configure a Kali Linux virtual machine and how to configure a PfSense virtual machine. And that should pop up on the top right corner of your screen right now. However, it's worth noting that in this particular video, we configured a firewall in such a way that it was easy to hack. In the real world, it probably will involve more efforts by attackers to try to log into your firewall, your network appliances, or your login interface There are several ways you can strengthen your security, including using secure shell, but disable password, use what we call an SSH key pair. And in PfSense, there's an option for that. You can also decide to use multi-factor authentication for login systems. You can also decide to use authenticator apps. But one thing worth noting is you should avoid some of these common passwords that we have mentioned in the rocky.txt file and the fasttrack.txt file. So thank you for watching.